Identity theft is when someone steals your identity by stealing your personal identification information. Home address, social number, driver's license number, bank account, or credit card numbers, or virtually any combination of the above. What they do is apply for credit in your name, spend all the money available, and leave you stuck with the bill. In tonight's episode, we'll see how one identity theft police officer was herself a victim of identity theft. But first, the story of a slippery character who managed to elude police just as they were closing in by assuming a new identity several times before eventually being captured.
What was interesting about Randy Campbell, unlike many identity thieves, is that he did a complete takeover of that person's identity. He rented an apartment in that person's name. He did purchases in that person's name.
A completely different criminal, as it were, a different case for us than we normally see. We're here with someone that's walking around as an actor would in a TV show or a movie. I am not who I really am. I am, in this case, Bogdan Vovk or Jason Deckard.
But what separated him from many other identity thieves is that as soon as he knew he was caught, the very next day, he was able to rent another apartment in yet a different victim's name.
In May of 2009, I received a phone call from an Auburn, Washington Police Department detective telling me that she'd been contacted by a citizen of Auburn, Washington, Bogdan Vovk, and he reported to her that there was someone in the Portland metro area using his name to purchase items and to rent an apartment.
I was checking my mail on Sunday and opened up an envelope that was addressed to me. I noticed it was from Portland, and I haven't been in Portland in a while, and it was from a jewelry store. So that kind of intrigued me. So I opened it up, and it was thanking me for a recent purchase of a Rolex watch and a diamond ring. Didn't know what to think. So I just put it aside momentarily and just started looking through the rest of my mail. Then the next piece of mail was a decline of credit from Nordstrom. That was really odd. Here I made a purchase, and here I got declined, and I didn't apply for credit. Last time I checked, I didn't have a Rolex.
Of course, the store remembered who came in to do that transaction. And so then the game is on as far as trying to locate that individual.
Officer Staab learns that an apartment has been leased out under the name of Bogdan Vovk. He races to the scene of the crime to make his arrest.
When Officer Staab gets to that apartment and speaks to the apartment manager, Randy Campbell has already left. When he left, he stole the washer and dryer from the apartment.
Someone from the Pontiac dealership where a car was purchased calls and is investigating or inquiring about this apartment. Well, the manager doesn't get much info except tells the criminalist, oh, by the way, someone called from a Pontiac dealership about a car, and it's the same apartment you were just in. So I just started through the phone book, sat down and called each one individually, and then landed on Jason Deckard's name at a nearby Pontiac dealership, and that's where I learned that a person later identified as Randy Campbell had gone in and made this car purchase, claiming to be Jason Deckard from Texas.
There was a couple phone numbers that I was able to get that were on the application. So then after work, I'm like, well, whatever, let me give it a try. I want to see if I could talk to the guy. So I was like, okay, how should I do this? He goes, well, he's applying to a lot of credit cards. So let me pretend I'm from some credit reporting agency.
Hi, this is ABC Creditors calling. You're approved for your credit. We just need to verify your address.
Okay.
He goes, hold on, what do you need? Why do you need the address for? Everything's on the application. I go, well, just read me the address. Well, just tell me what the address is. I mean, that's all I need. I just need to verify the address, and your credit line will be approved.
Okay, 168 Wilford Drive.
That's my address.
No,
The real Bogdan Vovk. Like, no, you're not. This is Bogdan. And then he hung up.
He left in the middle of the night from the first apartment complex, taking the washer and dryer with him. He moved, I think it was 1.3 miles down the road to another apartment complex. And when he moved in there, he had now completely assumed the name Jason Deckard for that apartment complex rental. Once we figured out where he was, there was some surveillance involved, me walking around the complex with the manager acting as a prospective tenant, taking some photos, and setting up for a raid.
How many people have their identity stolen in North America each year? 1 million? 9 million, 15 million, or 25 million? Before the break, we asked, how many people have their identity stolen in North America every year? Is it 1 million, or 9 million, 15 million, 25 million? Well, the answer is 9 million. According to one study, over 9 million people in North America have their identities stolen each year. That's over 24,000 identities stolen each day. Make sure you're doing all you can to protect your identity.
The second apartment complex we go to, that is where we conducted the raid and caught him. You've already run through it a few times, so everyone knows their part and what's going to happen. So it's never a dull moment, as they say. This is the Breckenridge apartment complex where we raided the apartment where Randy Campbell was renting an apartment using the name Jason Deckard.
Officer Staab and his team positioned themselves for the raid by moving behind the apartment complex in the early morning hours. Campbell was not going to slip through their fingers again.
When we actually did the raid itself, we pretty much hugged the building, and that just allows less ability or chance of someone to see us.
Go, go, go! Clear!
Not knowing what was waiting for them behind the door, Staab and his team drew their guns and braced themselves.
Go, go, go! Get your hands up! Don't you move! Get your hands up! Both of you stay right where you are. Don't move. Higher. Get your hands up now. Yeah, we got you.
Conducted the raid at about 5 o'clock in the morning. I attempted to interview him, and basically something to the effect of, you got here just in time, I was about to leave, you got me good, I got nothing to say to you. And that was the extent of my interview with Mr. Campbell.
Only because we were able to dedicate the resources, we were able to catch somebody like Randy Campbell.
We uncovered a ton of evidence inside his current apartment. This is binder number 1, and then I ended up with binder number 2, which I think is actually really a 6-inch binder. So 11 inches for Randy Campbell, and most people only get 5, which led us to go to the district attorney and say, hey, I know it's not usual in this kind of case, but we need to make sure he stays here.
We asked to have his bail increased to $1 million, which is an unusual amount, but we were very concerned given that he could make IDs or had sources to get IDs, very good IDs, so quickly.
Well, it was a mixed feeling. It was relief that this guy's gone, but what about if he had given my information to anybody else? The good thing that kind of was calming is that Officer Staab had mentioned that they had found a lot of my information in his apartment, or the other place, wherever he was staying. So it seemed like all of my information was in custody too and wasn't out there. But at that same time, you can never be too sure.
At the end of the day, he had nothing. He had nowhere to go, no defense to his actions, and led to his conviction. And I believe he took a 5-year plea. I found some other cases that appeared he'd been committing some kind of fraudulent activity for at least 2 years prior to me coming in contact with him.
And Randy Campbell is an example of someone that did this not because he had a meth addiction. He didn't have a drug addiction. Randy Campbell did this for a lifestyle choice.
And I understand how a good credit can help you in your life and how a bad credit can screw you over in life. So I did everything I could to make sure that my credit was perfect. The apartment that we were living at was kind of small, so I needed a bigger apartment because I had a kid on the way. So I'm trying to rent another apartment, I can't. So here I'm stuck at this little apartment with the kid on the way and can't do nothing about it.
What can you do to protect your identity and thwart identity thieves? Shred all documents containing personal information before they go to the trash. Never give out personal information to people that you don't know or trust. Check your credit rating often to ensure no one is opening any accounts in your name, or all of the above. Before the break, we asked, what can you do to protect your identity and thwart identity thieves? Shred all documents containing personal information before they go to the trash. Never give out personal information to people you don't know or trust. Check your credit rating often to ensure that no one's opening accounts in your name, or all of the above. Well, the answer is all of the above. All of these tips are helpful when trying to secure your identity information from criminals.
I was writing checks at local stores in the city of Portland, and I would go into the store and write checks for purchases, then do returns and get money back for the items.
Most of them accepted some responsibility for what they'd done, but I knew that there was a lot more going on. I was contacted by the Fred Meyer corporate fraud investigator about some people who were passing counterfeit business checks and personal checks at different Fred Meyer stores throughout the area here.
They were in this together? Mm-hmm. Okay. And did anybody else see this?
That same day that I got that information, a patrol officer called me to tell me that he had seized a computer and some documents from a trailer that was occupied by Carrie Pepin, who I later learned was part of the first investigation. It was clear that the two investigations were linked to each other based on the information from the computer. It looked like it was the same people that were passing the checks at Fred Meyer's.
I would say over 90% of the cases that I handle, the person has some drug addiction.
I was addicted to methamphetamines and had been using drugs for a very long time. And the last couple of years of my drug use got really heavy, just got wrapped up with the desire to want more of them and did anything I could to get them. My oldest daughter had been living with her dad for a couple of years prior to that. My youngest daughter was living with me through part of it, but her dad came and got her as well before I was arrested, about a month and a half before I was arrested. And at that point, when he came and got her, I really went, I guess, off the deep end and started committing more crime, using more drugs, and just really didn't care about life.
There are people that are exceptionally greedy, so they're going for high volume, or they're exceptionally busy in the sense that they're doing many transactions. And Rochelle Ross and her group fell into the second category.
It was like more than a full-time job, actually. In doing so, it was creating checks. I actually had to make them myself. And there was creating IDs, remembering who I was each time I went to the store, because on a daily basis, I was somebody different.
Cops are just around the corner. That's it. Well, we'll get rid of it.
Officer Glass and her team were making progress. They were closing in on Rochelle and her identity theft ring. The criminals started to panic.
You don't want to use the most expensive lamination stock. And so you practice with plain paper. And that's a lot of what they'd thrown out was just practice checks, but trash bags full.
We're at Walmart, Eastport Plaza Walmart. The bag of trash was found maybe 100 feet away from it. When I looked in the bag of trash, it was all the same stuff from the first two investigations. So I knew I was onto something.
I was told from people around town that the police were looking for me, that even different motel rooms, some people's houses that they had gone to looking for myself and some other people, showing my picture around. So I knew that it was coming.
A tip led Officer Glass to a part of town where she would find Rochelle. She found her sitting on a park bench where she was arrested without a fight.
Most of them accepted some responsibility for what they'd done, but I knew that there was a lot more going on.
Officer Glass interviewed several suspects and began to listen to phone calls made from prison. She soon discovered how big the operation really was.
They don't know about the fake checks.
Hey, the two girls haven't even made it down there yet. They're still questioning them.
What did you say to the police about the bags? Mark wants to know. Yeah. He didn't say anything about no bags. He was just giving you guys a ride. I'm getting rid of everything right now, as we speak. As we speak. Going right now. The shredder's almost full, we'll put it that way.
During the jail calls is Marcus telling his sister that I only know about the Fred Meyer transactions, that I know nothing about Safeway or Target or Walmart. So now I know. I sent out a request for the different store fraud investigators to look at their databases and see if they'd accepted any of the same checks from the same maker names, the same payee names as the bunch I was looking at. Safeway forwarded my request on to Certegy Check Verification Services, who dug around and sent me back this huge spreadsheet that had lists of all these transactions. They'd given that information to the Safeway fraud investigator, who emailed it to me with a little notification that said, "Barb, you're not going to believe this. Look at check number 5.
According to one police force, how many of the identity theft criminals they bust are linked to drug abuse, especially methamphetamine? Is it 90%, 50%, 30%, or 10%? Before we went to break, we asked, according to one police force, how many of the identity theft criminals they bust are linked to drug abuse, especially methamphetamine? Is it 90%, 50%, 30%, or 10%? Well, the answer is 90%. According to one police department, over 90% of the identity theft cases deal with drugs. Methamphetamine addicts often turn to fraud to make fast cash and easy money to feed their drug habits.
They'd given that information to the Safeway fraud investigator, who emailed it to me with a little notification that said, "Barb, you're not going to believe this. Look at check number 5. So I opened the file up and I looked at all the checks, and when I got to check number 5, there it was, a counterfeit check that had my name as the authorized signer on it. It was a business check, and the business address was my precinct address, and the maker name was Swept Away Cleaning. It was a little concerning because I didn't know how much more they'd done. And the best I could ever get out of any of them was that they thought that was the only one that they had done with my name on it, and that they hadn't done anything else.
Don't roll your eyes. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
It was extremely sad and very scary, extremely scary. I didn't know what was going to happen. I knew that what I was doing could send me to prison for a very long time.
During the interview I had with her, I said, you know, you're not a bad person. You're just doing really stupid, bad things, and you can turn this around.
I remember during my first interview with her, some words that she said to me before I went to prison were that she could tell I wasn't a bad person, that I had just made bad choices, and that I had the chance to change things. And that if I just got my head straight, that I would be okay. And her telling me that actually really helped me make the choices I made while I was in prison and to turn things around for myself.
Rochelle Ross did receive a prison sentence. She also received opportunity for treatment, which I know that she has engaged in.
I am in recovery now. I have almost 2 years sobriety and don't ever wish to go back to that lifestyle. That stupid mistake of not shredding that bag of garbage or putting it in an actual dumpster saved my life. Because if that had not been found, maybe I wouldn't have been found when I was.
She may be one of a handful of people that I've sent to prison who actually get their stuff together and turn it around.
So when I got out, I contacted her and thanked her for those words and let her know that, you know, how much that meant to me.
I've heard of these scams. They have these online contests that you can sign up for, and you know, they take all your information, your credit card number, your address, your phone number, on the premise that you're going to win all this stuff. But really, there are no prizes. They're just trying to get your information from you.
Okay, well, my mom went into a gas station a couple times. I think it happened 3 times, and yeah, they took her credit card and use it for little purchases, and then they slowly have it in bigger increments to hope that you don't find out, and then eventually find out and you have to cancel all your credit cards and then get everything new again.
And it was just such a cheap, ridiculous, like $600 a month for like a full apartment downtown. And he said I'd just send him money and then he'll send me the key to the place. And I was gonna do it, and then my roommate told me that was a scam. They used to use those things all the time on there, because I thought it was too good to be true. And usually when something's too good to be true, it is.